Do you want to be a gunslinging desperado with blood and revenge on your mind?
Well, then Gunslinger might be the right class for your next campaign. What's going on, YouTube? I'm the Mind Flayer Slayer.
And I'm Dr. DM, and we have a whole brand new class for you today from Valda, Spire of Secrets. Available
We love
now.
Valdas!
We do. On D&D Beyond, you can play this class from a 1 to 20, has 5 subclasses. We're going to talk about the core class today. And we're going to get started right at level 1 and stick around to the end because we're going to give you our tier ranking to see if this works for your D&D 2024 game. So at level 1, you get fighting style.
You choose a feat such as Great Weapon Fighting that requires you to hold a melee weapon in one or both hands. You can use that feat with ranged weapons. Whenever you gain a Gunslinger level, you can replace the feat you chose with a different fighting style ability.
This class in and of itself is like a martial class that's kind of range based and has a dice pool we'll talk about in just a little bit to give you some kind of like battle maneuvers from range in a very gunslingery way. Think about like the Wild West, exactly. So fighting style is the first way to do that. And at level 1, you get quick draw. You're adept at drawing and firing before others have time to react, granting you the following benefits. Initiative, you have advantage on initiative rolls.
Ooh.
And double draw, you can draw and stow 2 weapons that lack a two-handed property when you would normally be able to draw or stow only one. This is really cool, actually.
I like it a lot.
There's a lot of interactions that work with having the fighting styles, for example, the weapon masteries. You can have 2 weapons, you can stow them and get out like, 2 daggers or cutlasses or something.
Yeah.
Very cool flavor and actually surprisingly strong, especially the advantage on initiative.
For sure. At level 1, you also have your weapon mastery. You're going to be able to select simple or martial ranged weapons of your choice.
And there's some unique weapon masters here for the Gunslinger, which are pretty cool, and we'll talk about this later on in the video.
At level 2, you got critical shot. Your attack rolls with ranged weapons score a critical hit on a 19 or a 20.
This
on
is
the D20.
insane.
That's
at
really
level
good.
2. Yeah, this is what Champion Fighter gets.
Yeah.
And at Gunslinger level 9, your attack rolls ranged weapons score a critical hit on an 18 to 20, and at 17 on a 17 to 20.
That's crazy.
That's huge, yeah. So you definitely want to pair this with like some kind of good magic weapons that like the vicious attribute, whatever, so you have more dice to roll when you crit. And this is even more in like Champion.
Yeah, it's way more powerful.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is busted.
Especially because you'll see this will pair when you get critical hits, you also get extra effects.
At level 2, you're also getting risks. You can perform incredible feats of daring fueled by special dice called the Risk Dice.
Boom. Risk dice. You have 4 risk dice, which are D8s. Again, these are kind of like battle maneuvers.
Yeah.
The risk die is expended when you use it. You regain all risk dice when you finish a short or long rest. You can expend risk dice for maneuvers. Some maneuvers include Bite the Bullet as a bonus action. You can spend a risk die to gain temporary hit points, equal number rolled, which is kind of so-so. Blind
Fire. You can take a bonus action and expend 1 risk dice to gain blind sight with a range of 30 feet until the end of the next turn.
That's okay. Grazing Shot. When you miss with a range attack, you can spend runner's die to deal damage to that creature equal to the roll on that die, plus your dex modifier. So it's like, the dex modifier is really good rather than just getting that roll, because it could be like a 1.
Yep.
But here you actually have a decent array of damage to do with this Grazing Shot.
And then you got Maverick Spirit. When you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving check or throw, you can expend 1 risk die to add it to the roll, potentially turning it into a success. You can only use this once per turn. A D8. That's great.
And this effect only really happens once. You're not really going to, honestly, on very, very high levels, have to go against a saving throw more than once a turn. So this makes you indomitable like the fighter's ability as well when it comes to saving throws.
Skin of your teeth. When a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can make a reaction, expend 1 risk die to dodge out of harm's way. Roll the die and add the number rolled to your AC against the attack, potentially causing it to miss. That's like S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's like S.H.I.E.L.D. but for a gunslinger, which is pretty cool. I mean, you think about in like, not in like the Western movies, Clint Eastwood, but more like the contemporary adaptations of it, like in video games of rolling around, right, and they're firing
your Red Deads.
Max Payne style, that kind of thing. So probably one of the better abilities to use a risk die with.
I'd say. At level 3, you're getting your Gunslinger subclass. It's going to give you different specializations, and we'll be covering those in a video later on if you're interested.
We're going to swing on over to level 5, which is extra attack. You get 1 extra attack at level 5, like most of the martial classes do.
And Gutshot. Whenever you score a critical hit against a large or smaller creature with a ranged attack using a weapon, the projectile lodges itself in the target for 1 minute or until the target replaces one of its attacks with dislodging the projectile. Its speed is halved and it has disadvantage on attack rolls.
Okay, so what I will say, this is interesting. This is good for lower levels. It's pretty good when you get at level 5.
The speed is bleh.
Yeah, and the larger, smaller stipulation. At higher levels, you'll be fighting probably like gargantuan-sized creatures, maybe sometimes bigger. You will be fighting some creatures that aren't that big and still maybe powerful gods or demi-humans. And the target replaces one of its attacks with dislodging the projectile is good. It can soak up 1 attack from an enemy. So it's not great, it's just very limited in scope, I think.
At level 7, you have Evasion. When you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw, you take only half damage. You instead take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw and only half damage if you fail.
This is good. This is like the Barbarian or Rogue features, Evasion, same thing. And this kind of gives you sort of a boon to your dex saves, right? And with your wrist dice, you already get the mental ones, right? Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. So you really have a good way to shore up your saves. So
especially because you're already a ranged combatant to begin with.
Oh, true. So. You'll be hit by those long-range spells anyway, so you need to overcome them.
Yeah. At level 11, you've got Overkill. When you deal damage with a ranged weapon that doesn't add your ability modifier to the roll, you add your ability modifier nonetheless. If you nonetheless, if you already add your modifier to the damage roll, the target takes an extra 1d8 damage of the weapon's type. That is tawdry.
That's really good. Note the weapons that have firearm property don't add your ability modifier damage roll. So that's good to know. So if you are wielding firearms, pistols, rifles, etc., this is a way to make sure not only you're adding bazookas, absolutely, rocket launchers. In this case, you're doing your damage firearms, which are usually more powerful than the range, medieval equivalents, right? And you're adding an extra d8, and then you're axing your ability mod. So if you're critting, you're doing like 1d8 for your damage, let's say, your base damage, and you're getting an extra d8 every single time, and your mod, and you're doubling that if you crit. That's pretty good base damage.
Level 13, you have Cheat Death. When you reduce to 0 hit points...
and not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead and regain a number of hit points equal to your Gunslinger level. Pretty good. Once you use this feature, you can use it once per short or long rest.
Okay, decent. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, you can get this effect on some equipment.
So many different ways to get this effect.
Yeah, but if you're playing like a Magic-like campaign, or you're just using D&D 24 where this effect isn't as prevalent in Magic items, still a good way to have some survivability and extra hit points to boot.
Agreed. At level 15, you have Dire Gambit. Whenever you roll initiative or score a critical hit, you regain 1 expended risk die.
All right, this is good for long dungeon crawls. At higher levels, when you're 15 here, you'll be getting the critical hit relatively often because you're critting on 17 to 20. Especially if you find a way to get advantage. Your chance of critting will be pretty good, maybe 25, a quarter or more %. So you can start doing your wrist dice maneuvers more often. They're not super powerful, but they are very utility and defense-based, right?
Sure.
Which is good.
Level 18, you have Deft Maneuver. You gain a special additional bonus action that you can take once on each of your turns. You can take this special bonus action only to use a maneuver. Okay, level 18 ability, it's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it's nice to have 2 additional bonus actions, but it's pretty limited in scope, although letting you use a couple bonus actions, risk maneuvers, more often without being a detriment to your overall action economy, especially if you're like dual-wielding pistols, for example, which take your bonus action hit.
And at level 19, you got your Epic Boon, so you can choose an Epic Boon. They're recommending Boon of Irresistible Offense.
And finally, Headshot. When you score a critical hit against a creature using a ranged weapon, you can choose for it to be a headshot. If the creature has less than 100 hit points, it dies. Oh, so this is basically a power word kill.
Yes, it is.
Baked into an ability, otherwise it takes 10d10 damage of the weapon's type. Pretty cool. Once per short rest is nice. Oh, you can restore it by expending 3 wrist dice. At this point, you have 60-12, so you can actually do this 3 times. You can do 3 power word kills if you wanted to just burn all your wrist dice.
But again, that's level 20. Most people are never reaching that point in a campaign.
That's true, yeah. But still, other classes have really good capstone features.
Yeah.
I would say this is
It's a very good capstone feature.
It is, because I think this is sometimes found in subclasses, but here it's sort of baked into a powerful main class feature.
And I think that a lot of the capstones that we've seen, especially in 2024, have been pretty mid overall. So I would actually say this is one of the better ones.
Yeah, because it's impactful, you can do it often, and it just does good damage, I think.
What do you think overall about the class?
Well, I do like that the wrist die kind of levels up as you level up, like bardic dice, etc. They are kind of very limited in scope. They are defensive. You're not doing, as far as a main class, there's not much going on here mechanically.
Yeah.
You're sort of like a battle master and champion fighter with not much else other than just kind of the flavor of Gunslinger.
Yeah, it's a solid C for me, to be honest. I would be
C.
curious what the additional subclasses are, and if you're interested in getting more information about that, maybe we'll do some videos on that in the future.
Yes, this is a full class Gunslinger. It's pretty cool. If anything, it's flavor. It makes firearms actually useful and usable in your campaign. So if you like that, you want to do good damage, have good survivability and defense, and don't want to play just a straight fighter, I think this is actually pretty potent as long as you're able to get to higher levels in the campaign.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you very much for watching this review. We'll bring you more content soon here at Green Garb.
We'll see you next time.